Hey guys, it's Lindsay here, and with the release of my newest pattern, the Flatter Me Frock, I thought I'd take this episode to show you guys how to make your own bias. It's so super simple. I use it in almost every single garment that I make. Like in this top, I used it to face my necking. If I can't be bothered to hem the sleeves, I use it to face the sleeves as well. It's really easy, it doesn't take a lot of fabric at all, and it's gonna look really nice on your new Flatter Me Frock. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'm going to show you exactly what tools you're gonna need to do this. So here's a list of the tools that you're going to need to make your own binding. The first thing you're going to need is a rotary cutter. So this is a Fisker's rotary cutter. It has an extremely sharp blade. I'd also recommend Clover or Olfa. They make exceptionally good rotary cutters. Anything else, I tend to find that the blade blunts too quickly. The other thing that you're going to want to have is a 24-inch ruler. So mine is about 5.5 inches wide. That's so that I can put my whole hand on it. I have like massive basketball hands. So I like something that's really big that I can have control of. The other thing that you're going to want to get is one of these cutting mats. Now I have quite a large one. Mine is almost about 36 inches wide and it's 23 inches long. So that's quite big. I like that size because I can get a whole yard of fabric on it. And so when I'm cutting out dresses or maybe I'm making a top, I just have a lot of room to work with. The other option is you could just use a ruler and draw the lines, but you can't guarantee that they're going to be straight. And once you see how quick this is, you'll understand why I'm using these tools. Now for the fabric. So if we're just going to do some neck facing, or perhaps you're making the new pattern, the Flatter Me Frock, all you need is 1/2 meter. Because of the way that we're cutting the strips, and we're only cutting 1.5 inch wide strips, you don't really need that much. If we were going to do a queen size quilt, we might need to get a little bit more, but usually 1/2 meter or 1/2 yard of fabric is plenty for most garment making. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our 1/2 meter piece of fabric. We're going to use our ruler and our rotary cutter. We're going to open our rotary cutter, and we are going to cut right on the folded edge. So essentially, we've cut off the fold. Now we're left with 2 rectangles. Now I'm going to have you come a little bit closer, and I'm going to show you exactly how I'm going to cut this binding. So now that you've cut off your folded edge, you're going to take one of your rectangles, like so, and we're going to face it wrong side facing up. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take one corner and you're going to fold it down so that the raw edge is matching, and you have something that looks a little bit like a triangle. What's happened over here is we've created another folded edge. So the first thing I'm going to want you to do is take your ruler, butt it up against the folded edge. I like to call this my big spider hand. So I put a big spider hand, I put my index finger on my rotary cutter, and I use even pressure and go forward, cutting off that folded edge. Always going forward, never ever cutting backwards like that, because that is like a disaster waiting to happen. We're going to slide the ruler up a little bit and then keep cutting. And what you're left with is essentially 2 triangles. We can put the triangles on top of one another so that when we're cutting, we're cutting like 2 strips at one time, which is a lot easier. And what we've done is, instead of cutting, this is called the straight of grain, where there's no stretch, we've cut on the bias, which has heaps of stretch. Look how much that fabric moves and bends. So when we're going around a neck facing or an arm, that's a circle, and we want it to be as bendy as possible. So that's why we want to cut on the bias, which gives us so much stretch. So now I'm going to turn this around slightly because I'm right-handed, so I'm going to turn it around so I can cut with my right hand. And I'm going to place the edge of this ruler at 1.5 inches. So I'll give you a little close-up of my ruler. You can see that it's marked. There's 1 inch, 1.5 inches. So I'm using the ruler to line up on the edge of the fabric, the raw edge that we just cut off. I'm not using actually the mat to line it up. I'm using only my ruler. So you want to make sure that you can see the markings on your ruler really easily. Again, big spider hand. Grab your rotary cutter, put your index finger on the little notch, and press evenly and always go forward, cutting at 1.5 inches. And so you can see I've slided my ruler forward just a little bit so that I can keep cutting straight. And there we go. We have 2 beautiful strips. I'll cut one more because I think I'll have plenty once I cut one more. And there we have it. All my bias strips. Now we need to sew all of these bias strips together so we have one long bias strip. Okay, so let's go to our sewing machine. Now that you have all your strips cut, I've come over, I've set up my sewing machine, I've threaded it with some really good Rasant thread. I have my pins. I also have my water-soluble marking pin that I'm going to use, and I'm also going to use a small ruler to mark on my strips. Start by taking one of your strips and laying it face up, facing up towards you so that you can see the pretty side. Next, take one of your other strips and place it right side facing down so that you make kind of like this T cross section. What you're going to do is you're going to take one of your rulers or a seam gauge and you're going to mark from the top left hand corner to the bottom right hand corner with your water soluble marking pin like so. Now what I like to do is I call this check it before you wreck it. So I put one of my pins on the line that I just marked and then I double check that it makes a straight line. So I've just placed my 2 strips that I pinned together underneath my foot and I'm going to sew forward 3 stitches, do a little reverse stitch, and then continue sewing, taking out my pin, and then sew all the way to the other end, reverse, and cut the thread. Now I have one really nice long strip. Okay, so I've sewn these together and now I have these little tails sticking off the end, so I'm just going to snip up and then I'm going to snip across at about 1/4 inch and then cut the other tail off. Okay, so it's going to look like that, and then I'm going to go to my iron and press all the seams open so that I have one long strip with all the seams pressed open. And next thing that I'm going to do at my iron is I'm going to press wrong sides together like this so that I have one long strip with the right sides pressed together, the raw edges matching, and then I have made my bias. Thank you so much for watching today's episode of Sew to Grow. I really hope that you learned a lot about how to make your own bias strips at home. And I'd love to see what you make. If you love using bias as much as I do, post a picture on our Facebook account, facebook.com/Sew to Grow. I'd love to see what you're creating. Tune in next time because I'm going to show you how to sew this onto a dress, just to show you how simple it is and how to join those ends together really nicely. So we'll see you next time. Thanks again. Happy sewing!